We are diving deep today into a sensation, really, that many of you have described to us. It's that
Hmm.
quiet shift, where suddenly all that experience, all that wisdom you've gathered, it just seems, well, less valuable than maybe a viral trend or how many likes something gets online.
Yeah, less tangible somehow.
Right. And you start to notice the world kind of pushing back. You hear those little whispers, maybe not even malicious, but things like, oh, don't wear that, or, is that really your age?
Uh-huh. Those subtle cues. Yeah.
Exactly. And you realize society's maybe suggesting that the second half of your story it should be smaller, quieter,
Uh,
maybe just invisible.
Fading out.
Yeah. And that is precisely what we are challenging today.
Mm.
This deep dive is for anyone out there who has felt dismissed, maybe overlooked, or flat out told you're too old for joy or style, or even big life changes.
Hmm.
Because our sources, they overwhelmingly argue that age, it isn't a limit. It's more like a license, actually, to reclaim your freedom. We're going to try and frame age not as some kind of countdown, but as a genuine superpower.
And what really jumps out from the material we looked at is this huge clash in how we measure worth. It's like two completely different worlds colliding.
Okay.
On one side, you've got, let's call it the old world. Value there was based on, resilience, real connection, practical knowledge you got from actually doing things, failing, surviving.
Right. Lived experience.
Exactly. And then, boom, the new world, where respect is this incredibly volatile currency. It's measured in follower counts, filters, how fast you adapt to the next big platform.
It changes constantly.
Constantly.
Uh-huh.
So it's really no wonder people feel a bit adrift, when their lifelong expertise is suddenly kind of overshadowed by someone who just mastered a 12-second dance video.
Yeah, it's jarring. So let's unpack that a bit more, this cultural shift, starting with what some of our sources called the digital divide. This feeling, often unspoken, that once you pass, say, 50,
Uh-huh.
you're basically running on outdated software.
That's a great way to put it. It's that constant feeling of having to sort of translate your reality for a younger crowd.
Right.
And often it just ends with that polite smile, maybe a little nod, but underneath, it's like, you wouldn't understand.
Dismissive.
Yeah. And the materials point out it's not always about not having the tech skills. Sometimes it's just not prioritizing that digital performance above everything else.
But is that critique even fair? I mean, we looked at sources suggesting older generations do understand. We've lived through huge tech revolutions ourselves.
Absolutely. Landlines to smartphones.
Floppy disks to the cloud. I mean, how does successfully adapting over and over again prove we're outdated? It feels like the opposite, doesn't it?
That's such a crucial point the sources make. Yes, the shift involves digital dependence, but maybe the real issue is the value system. What's prioritized?
Appearance, instant gratification.
Exactly. When your whole identity starts revolving around that online persona, the need for external validation just skyrockets. And that environment, well, it sadly seems to breed less empathy.
One piece we read put it so starkly. It said, cruelty has become a form of entertainment. Wow, that's deeply disturbing.
It is.
And if you remember life before all this, connection felt different, didn't it? It required more effort, more friction, maybe.
Oh, definitely. Think about it. Dial-up tomes, waiting for photos to develop.
Handwritten letters, taking days.
Connection was intentional. It was slower. Now you've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads. The list is endless.
Right.
And the sources suggest if you're not juggling 5 platforms, constantly refreshing your feed, you basically risk becoming, well, practically invisible.
It is such a paradox, isn't it? Because social media obviously connects people, it inspires, it teaches across borders.
No doubt. Huge benefits.
But the price of admission often seems to be tying your self-worth to that online performance and that validation loop. Especially if you grew up without it, it can feel really unsettling.
Absolutely. Because we tend to hold on to the value of, internal self-worth, genuine achievement based on effort, and then you watch a whole generation measuring themselves against these filtered, curated ideals.
Yeah, okay.
It's heartbreaking, but also fascinating to observe.
Okay, so if we're being made to feel less visible or outdated online, how does this age shaming pop up in the real world? Because it feels like that digital noise translates into these weirdly specific, restrictive rules about how we should show up offline.
And that's exactly where the next part of our research really hits home. You cross some invisible age line, and suddenly the internet, or even mainstream magazines, decides you need a whole new rule book for style.
Hmm.
And these aren't gentle suggestions, are they? They're like commandments, often designed to make you shrink, to minimize your presence.
And the examples cited are just. They're infuriating because they're so specific and, frankly, absurd. We're talking actual article titles like, Why You Shouldn't Wear Jeans After 50.
Right. Or hairstyles to avoid after 50.
And a personal favorite, colors you shouldn't wear past 50. Who came up with the color ban?
The whole premise seems to be that fashion, which is all about expression and change, suddenly becomes rigid, fear-based,
Oh.
all about hiding or downplaying aging.
That jeans one, though. Why you shouldn't wear jeans after 50? I mean, seriously, if anything.
The counter-argument is so much stronger, isn't it? And the sources nail it.
They really do.
It's powerful and simple. If anyone has earned the right to wear jeans, it's the generations who wore them out, dancing, painting houses, raising kids, living through huge societal shifts in them.
They weren't just fashion then. They were life.
Exactly. Jeans are like a symbol of freedom, of casual authenticity, not some privilege that just expires when you hit a certain birthday.
But here's the real sting, I think, and where the sources really highlight that clash of values we talked about. Who writes these rules?
Ah, yes. Often, as one source put it, 20-somethings with zero real-life mileage, but an overinflated sense of authority.
Ouch. But true.
Well, that lack of lived experience is kind of the core of this divide, isn't it? The authors of these lists seem to prioritize aesthetics over function, maybe validation over substance.
They forget the basic truth.
That life experience doesn't come with a Wi-Fi connection. You can't download wisdom.
And experience means resilience, deep resilience. It's not just knowing stuff, it's living through it. People over 50. We're talking about folks who've worked, built, broken, mended, lost, and loved again.
Precisely. They've navigated recessions, huge cultural changes, tech shifts that would have completely floored earlier generations. They've survived more world changes than any algorithm could possibly predict. That history of adapting, learning, growing, that should be seen as ultimate proof of resilience, right? Not confusion because you don't immediately grasp a new app.
We're not panicking at every new platform. Maybe we're just deciding if it's actually worth our time.
Exactly. Time becomes more precious.
And the most liberating thing that comes from surviving all that chaos, the sources really point to this insight. Stop worrying about age appropriate. Start focusing on me appropriate.
That shift is just huge. Confidence, the kind you develop by actually surviving decades of trial and error, that is the best accessory, period. When you reach that stage, you like yourself, not because you're flawless, but because you've lived through enough mess to know your worth is inherent. It needs zero outside approval.
Okay, so that finally brings us to the positive side, the superpower aspect. We've laid out the critique, the frustrations. Now, what about the gains? What does getting older actually give us?
Well, perspective is a big one. Patience, too. And what the sources beautifully call the fine art of letting go. Humor also shifts, doesn't it? It goes from being occasional to becoming like a necessary survival skill.
Definitely need that.
But the biggest gain, probably clarity. Realizing that maybe 90% of the stuff you used to worry about, the pressures you felt, totally optional.
That aha moment, it's like the starting gun for a renaissance, isn't it? When you shed that need to please everyone, let go of relationships that drain you, ditch the silly fashion worries, life just gets lighter.
It really does. You start performing for the crowd, and maybe for the first time, you start dancing just for yourself.
And this leads right into what the sources call the midlife renaissance, that dreaded over-the-hill point. Turns out it's not a decline. It's the starting line for maybe your fifth or sixth big reinvention.
Yeah. We see people past midlife starting passion businesses, traveling solo to places they only dreamed of, learning completely new skills. Not because they have to, but because they finally have the mental space, the time, the freedom.
It's like a radical personal realignment. One source called it a second adolescence.
But with the key difference.
You actually know who you are this time.
Exactly. Which loops back beautifully to that supposed downside of aging invisibility. The sources argue, hang on, maybe this isn't a problem. Maybe it's the superpower.
How so?
When society maybe stops noticing you purely for your youthful appearance, you're freed from that judgment. You stop being seen only through that shallow lens of beauty or trendiness. Instead, people might actually see your humor, your wisdom, your presence.
That freedom. That's what we should be aiming for, right? Just being comfortable in your own skin, regardless of what the latest filter demands. We spend our 20s trying to be liked, our 30s proving ourselves, our 40s juggling everything. The sources suggest the 50s and beyond. Those are the decades you finally get to just breathe. And enjoy the harvest.
And to really capture this ageless spirit, the material offers two really poignant little stories. They stick with you.
Okay.
The first is about an 80-year-old father.
Yeah.
Decided he was going to buy a house in Hungary, live out his dream.
Wow. And he did it.
He did it. But then came the backlash. Social media, people questioning him. What was he thinking at his age? He should be downsizing.
Oh, the judgment.
Brutal. But his answer, this is the heart of it. He simply said he was thinking life is short.
Perfect.
He refused to spend his remaining years just waiting for permission to have an adventure.
Mm.
That drive, it proves the desire for self-actualization doesn't have an age limit. Only the permission we give ourselves changes.
That's powerful. And the second story?
Equally spirited. It really shows the power of attitude. It's about an 85-year-old grandmother in a care home. She refused to socialize with the other residents.
Okay, why?
When asked, she just indignantly replied, "You don't think I'm going to sit there with all those old people, do I?"
Ah, love it.
And that story is so important because the sources point out the real difference between, say, a 40-year-old who acts ancient, who stops learning, stops growing, and a 90-year-old who's dancing or moving to Hungary.
Yeah.
It's all about the spirit.
Yeah.
It's not the number on the calendar.
That really is the final synthesis, isn't it? Age is not a prison sentence. It's not a countdown to invisibility. Yes, physical limits might change, but age itself, it's not a restriction on your mind, your emotions, your creativity.
Exactly. Your body might age, sure, but that spark, your curiosity, your humor, your dreams, they are absolutely ageless.
We are the generation, really, that can refuse to fade quietly. We should be laughing about the crazy things we did do, not mourning things we supposedly didn't get around to.
Here.
So, a call to action, straight from the heart of our sources, is pretty simple. Wear the jeans. The ones you love, not the ones someone else deems age-appropriate. Try the ridiculous hairstyle if it makes you smile. Move to another country if your soul is calling you there. You are never, ever too old to live fully, wildly, and completely on your own terms.
And maybe here's a final thought for you to take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
We really need to stop saying old like it's some kind of sad ending.
Yeah.
And start saying older like it's a massive accomplishment, because it is. You've earned every single year, every lesson learned. Age isn't a finish line. Think of it more like a doorway to a kind of freedom you finally truly know how to use. So the challenge isn't just to survive growing older, it's to actively celebrate it. Let social media kind of suffocate in its own prejudice, as one source put it, while you get on with enjoying the incredible, unvalidated, spectacular freedom of just being you.
So we've completed this stage of the deep dive, and since the whole thing depends on that next batch of material from Rosita,
Well, then all that is left for us to say is, take care.
we'll be right here, ready and waiting to tackle whatever new subject Rosita sends our way. Until then, keep thinking, keep questioning, and we'll see you soon for the next deep dive.